You know, so we have to be very careful of the example that we put forward in front of people, the way we practice, the things that we do and the things that we don't do. And if people see that Islam is not changing you and making you a better person, they're going to ask that question. It's not helping you. How's it going to help me? Why should I be Muslim? So this is from the perspective of the do, the don't, for your own personal practice. I want to switch now and talk about your interactions with others. And there's a lot of different areas you can go into with that. But there's one specific area which I know every MSA goes through trouble with, and that is differences of opinion. Difference of opinion. You guys have differences of opinion in your MSA? Give me some differences of opinion. Let's hear some controversy. Every single MSA has it. Believe me, mine had it, yours has it, everyone has it.
Wiping over the socks.
Wiping over the socks. Okay, there's a classic difference of opinion. What's the problem with that? Where's the controversy within the MSA?
Well, they won't pray behind people who wipe over their socks.
So some people won't pray behind people who don't wipe over their socks. Okay, is there anything else? Is that the only one?
Oh, there's many. Fist-like beards, following a madhab.
But does this stop you from doing activities? But it brings controversy. What about on the sister side? Do you have any complaints or jibes or anything? Brothers not treating you right? Are they repressing you and telling you don't sit at the dawah table?
People's opinions about the wall at the masjid that we had on the second floor. And then now that we have the new masjid, what to do with the barrier, I guess.
Okay. So you have all these different controversies, right? You have a lot of different arguments, and you have a lot of differences of opinion. First of all, understand that a lot of these differences of opinion are legitimate. Okay? You're gonna, just right off the top of my head, zabiha, non-zabiha. Who eats zabiha, who eats non-zabiha? Lots of fighting over there. Oh, let's stay away from the non-zabiha guy. All those zabiha guys are just crazy. Keep away from them, you know? You have stuff like that. You have people, wiping over the socks issue. You got issues where people are talking about, can we have music or events, can we not have music or events? All sorts of different opinions. First of all, keep in mind that no one is a scholar here. At least I don't think. Anyone? Okay. So, no one is a scholar here. I'm not, definitely. Most of us are not. And so, it's not for one of us to pass a fatwa. We can have our own personal opinions for ourselves, but at the same time, we should not be passing fatwas. What you can do, you have a lot of different mashayikh around town. You have now Ibrahim Zidane sitting in MCC. You have Sheikh Abdul Rahman Khan. You've got a lot of our brothers from Dawah Khan. You have a lot of different people who have good knowledge. So maybe what you guys want to do is sit down and agree on who you will take your knowledge from and who will help you come to these fiqhi decisions. That's number one. Number two, for these differences of opinion that you have with people, you don't always have to take one opinion or the other. I would recommend, and this is from my own experience, try to find a way to accommodate everyone. Try to find an opinion. Try to find a way, even if you know one person follows one opinion, another person follows another opinion, try to accommodate everyone. So for example, you have this wiping over the socks issue, right? So this guy says, I'm not going to pray behind somebody who doesn't wipe over his socks. Fine, take off your socks and just go make wudu. That's it. You don't have to make an issue out of it, because something else is being broken here, and that's brotherhood. People are fighting amongst themselves, and pretty soon no work gets done. You know what gets done? Backbiting. Liba. Oh, he won't pray behind somebody who's not wearing socks. Now, I'm one of the people who follows the opinion that you can wipe over socks. But at the same time, if somebody says, hey, I don't pray behind people, I'll just take it off and I'll just go make wudu without my socks. No problem. It's very easy to do, right? In general, let me give you another example. Let's say, and this is an example that probably doesn't count, but it just illustrates the point. You have an event. You say, okay, we can buy zabiha meat or non-zabiha meat. If I buy non-zabiha meat, what's going to happen? Not everyone's going to get to be able to eat, right? And some people are going to get flustered and angry because they only eat one way. Maybe some people believe it's haram. Maybe some people stay away because they just want to be safe. So the solution is, get something that doesn't offend everyone. Get the zabiha meat, because everyone agrees on that. Everyone agrees they can eat that. Same with music. Some people think it's haram. Some people think it's halal. But if you just say, okay, let's just stay away from it, what's going to happen? The people who are into music are not going to get offended because there's no music, hopefully. And the people who are not into music, they'll say, hey, we can all come together now, and you can have an event that accommodates everyone. So that's one point. The other point is this: sometimes you can't necessarily do that all the time. These are just some ideal examples I've given. But in some cases, you might not be able to do it. So if that occurs, try to find a solution, a win-win solution that helps everyone win in the end. I'll give you an example, like in our school. At our school, the dawah table was the big fight. I don't know if it's over here, but in our school, dawah table was a huge fight. Our MSA was pretty conservative, and they were of the opinion that sisters should not be out in public where men and everyone is around, and we don't want sisters over there, just brothers and that's it. There was a lot of fighting back and forth. So there was a solution that was proposed. The sisters want to do dawah table, the brothers want to protect the sisters from fitna. So we said, how about this? How about we take the sisters, we set up a table in the all-girls dorms. Because there's just women pretty much going through there, maybe a few men here and there, but pretty much all women. And they have a nice lobby area. Why not just set up a table over there and go ahead and do dawah that way? And the brothers will go ahead and continue doing dawah table in public. That would have accommodated the brothers' need to protect the sisters, I think, and it would have accommodated the sisters' need to do dawah at a dawah table. But it was rejected. It was rejected because people made the goal, or made the means for dawah, the goal that they wanted to accomplish. You have to focus on what your goal is. Your goal is to make dawah to people. Your goal is not to set up a table. And there are many ways to do dawah to people. If you want to do a dawah table, then go ahead and just set up a table, somewhere else. That was the suggestion. That would have been a win-win solution. But some people rejected that, and they said, no, we don't want that. So what happened in the end? We had a lose, lose, and lose solution. The brother who was running the dawah table eventually just shut it down and said, this is not working. There's too much fighting and fitna. Shut down the dawah table. So the brothers didn't do dawah for the rest of the semester. The sisters didn't get to do dawah for the rest of the semester. And the people who would have benefited from that, they didn't get that information. Everyone lost. And there was just fighting back and forth between the brothers and the sisters for the rest of the semester. Very bad. These controversies, you want to move past them as quickly as possible. That's what you want to do with it. And you want to try and find solutions that accommodate everyone, inshallah. Are there any questions about that at all? No? Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is the Islamic work ethic. Now, as you guys are all working together, or working as leaders, you want to put forward the best, as I said, the best example possible. But I want to talk just a little bit about one story from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And this was during the Battle of the Trench. How many people are familiar with the Battle of the Trench? You guys familiar with it? A little bit? Okay. So you guys remember in the Battle of the Trench, you had 3 tribes that were coming in to come attack the Muslims and siege Medina. And they talked to Salman al-Farisi, who had an idea. He said, let's build a trench. That's what's called the Battle of the Trench. So they start digging and building a trench. And as they're digging, they find a particular rock they can't break. They find this rock they can't break. So who do they go to? Now keep in mind that they've been working hard in the desert sun. They're all very hungry and starved. They've got like stones tied around their stomachs just to help them handle this hunger. So who do they call? They call the guy who has 2 stones around his stomach. They call the toughest and strongest guy of all. Was it Umar? It wasn't. It was the Prophet ﷺ, who was starving more than they were, who was busy running the city, who was doing so many different things, running his religious duties. They call him to come break that stone, and he does. What do you learn from this? He was the leader of those people. But at the same time, even as he was leading, he wasn't just delegating and saying, here, you do this, you do that. A lot of people think that once they get into a leadership position, they're the president, or the vice president, or whatever it is, they think, okay, I'm the guy who gets to delegate now. No, you're the guy that has more responsibility. You're the person who has more work to do now. Because now not only do you have to manage all these people, but you yourself have to lead by example, and when work comes up, you have to stand up and show people a great example of somebody who works hard. It shouldn't be, oh, it's up to them to get it done. If somebody else doesn't get things done, you have to stand up and make sure that that final result that you're trying to achieve is done. You guys, anybody here into basketball? Who was really into basketball when the Bulls were like, big championship team? I was heavily into it. Heavily into MJ and Scottie Pippen. Who remembers that game where MJ was just like totally wiped out? He was totally wiped out, and he was sick. And the rest of the team was just, they're all like busters that day. Even Scottie Pippen was doing horrible.